Urinary tract infections are extremely common. Around 1 in 2 women and 1 in 20 men will get a UTI in their lifetime. Plus, once you've had one UT challenge, you're way more susceptible to another in the future. That's why you just need Just Thrive's UT123. This product can actually prevent UTIs while maintaining your urinary tract health. UT123 targets both immediate and long-term relief. We've all heard to drink cranberry juice for your urinary tract, but did you know that for the full effects, you need the whole cranberry? Not just juice, but the skin, flesh, and even the seeds. Well, UT123 uses superior ingredients that utilizes the whole fruit. This supplement truly is the full package. So if you're someone who struggles with the constant urge to urinate, a burning feeling when you pee, pelvic pain, or just want to be proactive in your urinary health, Just Thrive is for you. Just Thrive is so confident you'll love their product that there is a 100% money-back guarantee on every purchase made through justthrivehealth.com. And for a limited time, you can save 20% off site-wide at justthrivehealth.com with promo code SEXWithEmily. That's justthrivehealth.com and use code SEXWithEmily for 20% off your order. You're going to love it. Listen, alcohol is just out in 2024. There is a rising trend of going alcohol-free or being sober curious, and alcohol, the truth is, it's just bad for you and can famously impair your sex life. So if you're looking for another way to unwind, relax, or just have fun, I cannot recommend Via's THC gummies enough. Via has gummies for every occasion. Whether it's to improve your sleep, I love their sleep gummies. I take them everywhere. Your mood or your focus. They even have an aphrodisiac gummy called High Love to boost my arousal levels. High Love has a unique blend of cannabinoids and aphrodisiac exotic herbs that are known for their libido enhancing effects. So I've been using Via for a while now, and I absolutely love them. They're a super trusted company. They use premium hemp, natural ingredients, and they're known for their premium indoor THCA flower. All their products are made here in the US. They got quick and discreet shipping to all 50 states, so you can all enjoy them, not to worry. And also super affordable. So head over to viahemp.com and use code Emily at checkout to save 15% off your order. That's VIIAHEMP.com. Use code Emily at checkout for 15% off your order and let me know what you think. Thanks for listening to Sex with Emily. On today's show, I'm joined by Mathew, Gerson, and Kiana Reeves. They're from Foria, which is a sexual health and wellness company with products designed using cannabis. And there's just a lot to learn, and they're going to unpack it for us. All this and more. Thanks for listening.
Look into his eyes. They're the eyes of a man obsessed by sex. Eyes that mock our sacred institutions. Bedroom eyes, they call them in a bygone day.
Hey, Emily, you got a boyfriend? Because my man E here, he just got his heart broken. He thinks you're kind of cute.
A girl's got to have her standards. Oh, my.
Do women know about shrinkage?
Isn't it common knowledge?
What do you mean, like laundry? It shrinks?
Can we not talk about sex so much?
Are you kidding me?
Oh my God, it feels so good.
Being bad feels pretty good. But you know, Emily's not the kind of girl you just play with.
You're listening to Sex with Emily. We're talking about sex, relationships, and everything in between. For more information, go to sexwithemily.com. Check out our website. You can easily subscribe to the podcast and our newsletter, which is all on our site. We update it almost every day with new blogs and posts that will help you have better sex and relationships. I also love when you subscribe on iTunes, and as long as you're there, you review our show. Comment. Give us 5 stars if you like it. You can do 4. I'm okay with that too. But we do read all of your comments, and that really helps us in the whole podcast game. Also, social media, it's all at Sex with Emily across the board. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We love hearing from you. Okay, I'm going to get into my guests here because I'm so excited for them. We have Mathew, Gerson, and Kiana Reeves. They're from Foria, which is a sexual health and wellness company with products designed using cannabis. And we're going to break that down today because there's been so much about it right now. We live in California, and so there's a lot more about it here, but there's so many healing properties, and there's just a lot to learn, and they're going to unpack it for us. They've really been pioneers in this industry. Mathew is actually an old friend that I've known for a while from this industry. Mathew was the founder of Sir Richard's Condoms, which was so cool because you had your buy one, give one model. Like everyone, you buy a condom and you gave one to, was it Haiti or Africa,
correct.
right?
It's Haiti.
And like, I was like, oh, I want to know this guy. And I think I reached out to you on Facebook. And we started like share. Is that how we met? With sharing like your social media? And it was just, you've always been such an innovator, and that was such a cool like let me just not help people have better sex and safe sex, but let me change the world. And you've always been changing the world, and now with Foria, you are as well. And you've just been a socially minded entrepreneur and friend.
Oh, thank you so much.
And so thank you for being here. And Kiana Reeves, who's a new friend, she's a director of communications at Foria. And she does so many other things. I'm not even sure how she holds down the job, but she kicks ass at. But also, she's a doula. She works with pregnancy, postpartum, miscarriage, and abortion. You also stream practitioner.
Yeah.
So that's scar tissue remediation, education, management, and just you help women understand their vulvas and heal with scar tissue in so many different ways. So I'm glad you're both here. And you're also studying sexological bodywork. And you can find them all at ForiaWellness.com. That's FORIA Wellness.com, or at Foria Wellness Instagram, at Foria Pleasure, Twitter, Facebook.com/Foria. And we'll have this all in the show notes as well. Got that out of the way. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
What's up?
So first, can you guys tell me a bit about your backgrounds? And I know I just covered a little bit and how you actually got into this industry. Because like I said, Matthew, we met years ago, but then when you were starting Foria, it was about 5-6 years ago. And I was like, whoa, good for you.
It's a good question. And thank you so much for having us here. And it's amazing to see you doing so well and doing such great work in this space. It's been over a decade of watching you grow. So I'm so glad to be on the other side of the table.
Thank you.
Talking with you and Kiana. I don't know. I think the plants made me do it.
What exactly is Foria?
Well, the word Foria comes from euphoria.
Makes sense.
It's like a more feminine version of euphoria, just Foria. And the reason that word is so important, euphoria, which is because the anandamide, which is this crazy neurotransmitter that makes you feel really great, like blissful, it triggers euphoric states, which I think all of us are running after as much as we can, whenever we can, whether we know it or not. So Foria is basically grounded in the sort of an aspiration to help increase pleasurable states and diminish states of discomfort using cannabis-based plant chemicals. And the first product we developed was around 5 years ago. We made what is known as the first weed lube,
Right.
Which is catchy. It's more of a pre-lube, which we'll talk about later on in the show. But it was we basically reinvented the use of cannabis as a topical to be applied vaginally for sexual enhancement. And I say reinvented because women have actually been using it to that end for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And we sort of just reemerged now. And it's been really phenomenal watching how women have responded, how their partners have responded to using cannabis in the bedroom to light things up. Right. And not only is it helping in the bedroom, but it's helping to enhance pleasure and diminish pain when pain might be present. And so that got us thinking about how we might be able to use cannabis for pain reduction, specifically to address a really unmet issue for our species, which is menstrual pain. And it turns out that cannabis also has a very long and storied history of use for women to diminish menstrual cramping and the pain associated with menstruation. So we made what is known colloquially as the weed tampon, which is nothing more than a cocoa butter suppository with THC and CBD that's inserted vaginally and then dissolves and then goes right into the pelvic region where there's a whole bunch of cannabinoid receptors. Right. A lot of gobbledygook, but basically you're taking the essence of this plant and you're inserting it into your vagina, and it can help diminish menstruation, not just menstrual pain, but PCOS, endometriosis, other pelvic conditions.
I love that you're paying attention to this, all the pain that women have been having for forever. Since the beginning of time.
We feel honored to be in a position to be doing this work.
I love that you can
plant.
continue, like you're innovating on it. Like it's not even the weed, it's the pre-weed lube. No, the pre-lube. The pre-lube.
I mean, I wake up often in the middle of the night going, why me? I mean, I feel like I'm a sex worker to the plants. And we can talk about that a little bit more in terms of the sexual nature of these plants and what they have to offer us and what we're offering them.
I don't think people understand the sexual nature of the plants. I'm not even sure I do. I mean, I do intellectually how plants are life, and
yeah. I mean, none of us are botanists, but I think we can go for a walk in the woods, or we can go lay in a garden, and we can quickly realize that our understanding of sex pales in comparison to the progenitors of sexual reproduction, which are plants. So they've been doing it for a lot longer than we have. So we like to think about things emerging out of the garden that might never emerge out of the laboratory, and. It's funny just thinking about our story with Foria. It's like we rediscovered something that has been known for a really long time, and we rediscovered it in, I think, a pretty critical time to rediscover this use of this plant.
Yeah.
Because, as a balm, it's not just a balm for some of our sexual needs, but it really spreads out so far and wide through so many other aspects of relationship and culture. This one specific species of plant, particularly.
Right.
So from my own personal journey, I ended up in the condom space, just happenstance. Just trying to address...
The condoms were speaking to you?
The condoms were speaking, the latex plants.
Latex plants.
It was more from a social orientation, social impact. Looking at where are the places where we can leverage our unique skills, the efforts that we all put to work in our respective livelihoods and try to have some real impact in the world. And sex is a great space to do that in.
Yes.
We get to talk about these great things.
Sex and drugs.
Yeah, and it's like real-time response. Like people, the changes happen in real time, and it telescopes throughout their whole life into their families and their communities and whatnot. So.
Well, here's my question for you guys, because this is nothing new. Like cannabis being used as an aphrodisiac, right? Or being used as a plant to heal in so many, not just sex, but also just, CBD is powerful, can be used to for your muscles, can be used for healing pain, like basically all over your body. Back to the 7th century or something. So how come now is cannabis having its time? Yeah, its moment. It's like
it's
like
tried to have its moments so many times. There were so many kind of false pregnancies of the cannabis was going to emerge out of the shadows and onto the scene. And oddly enough, if you look at it, I'd kind of say unfortunately, but it is what it is. But I think cannabis emerged because it hit the jackpot with the consumer market. It's like, oh, wait a minute. The states all of a sudden started shaking their heads saying, hey, this is okay because the states need money. So that is what got us here. But I think what the underlying root structure was mostly empathogenic. It was empathy. It was people having direct experience of how cannabis was helping with disease, with pain, with suffering, with cancer, with so many disparate issues that might or might not have pharmaceutical methodologies that helped. And so people love this plant because the plant's been loving them for a really long time.
So true. Well, I thought would be interesting for you guys to help me talk about and explain this because, again, this is I haven't talked about it a lot on the show. Anecdotally, when you get high, it can help people get in the mood for sex. But also that not all cannabis gets you stoned. And I think people think, oh, I can't use drugs or it's a drug or I'm anti-drug. But can we kind of talk about the difference between the healing properties of the plant and the difference between THC and CBD, or however you want to break that down in the simplest form?
I think you can break it down into how you ingest, and there's different pathways in the body that when you don't ingest orally or you use it topically and in different ways, that it has a incredibly different reaction with your system. So that's one way. But then also cannabis itself is classified into 2 different plants. So there's hemp. Sort of.
No, hemp is the same species and same genus.
I know, it's very confusing, right?
It's very confusing. But you know what? It's a great analog to what you talk about, which is, I think, talking about plants is very much like talking about sex. We want to put everything in a discrete little individual place and say, stay there. And we break up the human experience, the sexual experience, and say, this is libido, this is sexual, this is intimacy, this is eroticism. And nothing stays put. Everything's moving around. And so with cannabis, too, it's we're constantly learning. We're listening to our clients. We've learned so much in the 5 years since we put this product out. There are so many benefits that we had no idea that these things were going to come back, that women and their partners were going to respond the way they did. So it's very much more call and response and iterative than it is we got this, and this is what it's.
Because it also does,
But I think to clarify for people who may not be familiar, though, it's important, they are the same plant, but there's hemp, which has no active THC in it, or very, 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 very low levels of it, right? So it's legal to ship around the world to
in most
use
places,
in most
right?
states.
Most states, okay.
Exactly. And then there's...
Thank you, Mitch McConnell. If you're listening, we wanted to thank you for that bipartisan support of that new ag bill that just came to the Senate floor. It got passed, which legalized hemp to be grown throughout America as an industrial crop because the hemp farmers were just missing out.
Help the farmers.
Help
the people.
Which people have been fighting for that for a really long time.
Yeah,
it's going to go to law hopefully in the next couple of weeks.
Exactly. But that's important to know, right? Is that hemp is an aspect of the cannabis family, and it is medicinal, and it doesn't have psychoactive effects. And therefore it can be used medicinally in a number of different ways. And I think it's really important to clarify that.
Yeah, and I think to the point around psychoactivity, what we've discovered is, we've been making cannabis-based products for 5 years, and if you use them as directed, and we don't actually expect anyone to use a sex product as directed, but that's why we make everything edible. But if you use it as directed, meaning you don't ingest it orally, you use it as a topical, or you insert it into other parts of your body, such as your anus or into your vagina, which we could talk about later.
Yeah.
You actually don't get fully high. I say fully high with a caveat. For the most part, you really don't get the same psychoactive experience because of the way your body's metabolizing it. So not to get too geeky with the science, but it turns out that our bodies create the metabolite that gets us super high.
Right.
So it's kind of wild if you think about it. You can take high doses of cannabis into your body in a suppository, get all these relaxation, topical, localized benefits, and not get high.
Right.
And you could eat that same amount and probably be pretty uncomfortably stoned.
Right. Interesting. Because when we first met, when you were starting Foria, like your first product was really amazing. Let's talk about it. Because I'm sitting here, I try the Awaken product. Foria has an Awaken product, which is massage oil. It's coconut oil. It has different healing ingredients.
8 plants, all of which in different cultures were revered for having quote aphrodisiac type properties, which is a pretty broad term.
Right.
But each of those plants individually were known and beloved in the bedroom. So we took the benefits of all those plants, put them together synergistically with the wonderful master herbalist, and added the cannabinoid, the CBD. And then we get this remarkable result.
So let's talk about, because this is what you were most known for. Now you guys are branching out in so many things, but let's talk about this Foria Awaken. So I sprayed into like my clitoris, my vulva. I followed the directions, at least initially. I'm like, I need a starting point. And then you spray it, and then you wait a few minutes. When I'm testing something, it's for me, but I'm thinking, well, how would someone else be experiencing this too, and how will I explain it? What I loved is that it just got me to like not rush into sex. I was just for masturbation, but to like lean back and be like, okay. And I just did a little meditation, and I really just started to like breathe into my body, which is what I know I tell you all to do, but I'm going to be honest, I don't always do it. Sometimes I'm rushed. But just the fact that it was the process of like putting it on and like touching myself and laying back, and then I started to feel like a tingling and like a really like warm sensation. And it smells really good, like minty. Right?
There's cacao, mint.
Yeah, cacao. It's all healthy. And I love that. And then it just like felt warm, and it was like I didn't need to apply anything else, like a lube. For me, it was like, it was enough. And then it just kind of felt like I was able to like put my attention there, where in the sense of, I loved it because I'm thinking about my listeners. So many women we hear from every single day who are like, I'm never in the mood for sex, or how do I get on board with it? I don't want sex with my partner does. I don't think about masturbation. And I'm always like, so many of us, we've talked about this too, Kiana, how women are so we're so disconnected from our bodies. Yeah. And like so much of the work that you're doing too, like all your work, sexological body work, and all the things are like getting women to connect. We just walk around with this part of us. We're like, I don't know what's going down in there. So I love that it, even for a few minutes, to be like, I'm going to send all my energy, I'm going to breathe into my pelvic floor. And it just kind of gave a more purposeful intention and more to my masturbation session, which was amazing, by the way. So let's talk about, if we can, about what have you been hearing, or
I get
what was the
amazing feedback. I'm a lot of the customer interaction in terms of particularly this product, because it's spreading itself because it's having such an amazing reach and people are having such amazing response to it. So one thing I think is important, and you touched on, is this idea of like a marination time and slowing down, and how important that is, because we culturally have this model of arousal that's very oriented towards how men or people with penises have arousal, which is very quick and fast. And women, people with vulvas, have a much different buildup for arousal. The circumstances are different. It's a whole neural connected network that you really have to be not just in your body space, you have to be in your mind space and your emotional space. And so syncing those up is sometimes really difficult for people to do. And the distraction too that comes into our minds of all the things we need to do. So the nice thing with Awaken that I keep hearing as feedback over and over is, one is the marination time. So slowing down and touching our bodies, or having our partner touch our bodies in a way that builds arousal, but that's not just building up immediately to penetration and orgasm. It's not goal oriented. And so we've really been talking about this as something called a pre-lube. It's something you do even before you engage in what we know as sex, which is usually like heterosexual penetrative sex. And that has really, really, really changed a lot of people's experience and understanding. The other thing that I think is really, really wonderful about this, that I get feedback again all the time, is it helps your body's natural arousal systems. So that arousal network and self-lubrication, for example. Some people will put this on and go, I really can't tell if this is me or if this is the awaken. And what we think is it's a combination of both. And of course, all of the feedback is from our customers at this point. And so there's no scientific data behind any of it. But so many people saying like, this is helping me with lubrication. This is helping me actually not experience pain. Sometimes I experience pain.
Well, let's talk. I wanted to ask that part of it too, is that 80% of women experience pain at some point during sex, and they just normalize it and don't do anything about it. And so I loved seeing all the comments and the reviews. It actually helps women. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, this is one of those organic things that's happening with the people. You know, we'll make a post on social media about, 80% of women experience painful intercourse at some point during their lifetime. And then the back end of our messages are all like, that's me, that's me. People raising their hands saying, I didn't know that this was normal. I didn't know that other people experience this. And it's something we don't talk about. And there's not a lot of solutions. There's some people doing some really interesting things on the forefront, like pelvic floor physical therapy and things like that. But in terms of products, there's none, and there's almost no research and no resource for people who are having that experience. Something we're finding with this over and over again are people who have not been able to have penetrative intercourse for sometimes even years. I'll get messages that are like, the first time in 5 years I've been able to make love with my husband, and I had 2 orgasms, and I never, ever, ever thought that was going to be possible again. Yeah.
That is amazing. Can
it's
you explain
moving.
to me then what it is, so people listening are like, what? How did that happen with this spray you put on yourself? So what it's the CBD. It's all the products.
It's a couple
ingredients.
things. There's kava is in there, and kava is a really amazing analgesic, and it also works with the nervous system. So you both have this topical absorbent quality of the kava that works with the tissues, and then it's also working within the nervous system to help relax. So you're working physically and with the nervous system, which is huge. And then the CBD, of course, is anti-inflammatory, one of the most well-known medical anti-inflammatories on the market. And we think that's really helping with any tissue irritation, muscular irritation, deep like pelvic floor stuff.
It's a miracle. It really is. Like, I just love, I mean, I was reading through it. I'm like, I love that you're helping so many women.
And the CBD is showing signs of really offering benefit for social and sexual anxiety, which is what flibanserin was trying to address. The rebranding of the antidepressant, that massive failure of a drug.
Yes, the female Viagra.
The female Viagra. That wasn't really an arousal. It was about anxiety. And so CBD is known to really help with generalized social anxiety and sexual anxiety, which is really, really common. And no one understands exactly what it's doing. So we're kind of at the vanguard right now, putting product out there that has a 10,000 plus year use amongst humans, dated back in the literature 10,000 years. It's Indo-European, into the Indus Valley, into China, into like old ancient medical textbooks. And so it's like, wow, maybe some of these entrenched issues that we haven't been able to solve for in the laboratory, we're kind of seeing some early signs of really profound benefits that are just coming back from a small number, because we're just a small company of clients, but they're consistent and they're really strong, and they want to share this with us because they want other women to also have that experience and share it so we can share it with them.
So it's helping women get more turned on, get more aroused. Is that what you're saying? Like,
yeah, I think it's
different than the flibanserin or whatever it was trying to. The
this
Viagra,
product specifically, I wasn't designed as to address anxiety. So we are creating CBD products which have a stronger amount of CBD specifically.
Can you just help with anxiety in general? Like, everyone's goddamn anxious. Literally, who isn't anxious? If you're not anxious, I'm shocked. Like, I want to put those people in a lab. But like, who doesn't have anxiety right now?
That's right.
In a lot of ways. Some people more very intense than others. But
well, I think that gets back to your earlier question about why now. And I talked briefly about maybe it's the consumer market. Maybe that was sort of the how it got normalized. How are we here where 20 odd states are now legalized in a medical or recreational capacity? But why now, I think, is more interesting. And so the why being, we are so disjointed. We are extraordinarily anxious. We are perhaps seeing some of the stresses that are coming from an overuse of our mental acumen. We're really bright species in some way, but we're perhaps building really sharp saws and cutting off the branches that we're standing on, and we're really high up in the air, and then we're all kind of anxious that we're doing that.
Really?
And so maybe like climbing down out of the trees, so to speak, and coming into our bodies, relaxing, having more direct experience of pleasure that's not a consumer-based activity, that's just emergent out of your own body or with a partner or not. this is deeply healing, and it will have reverberations, I think, culturally, that we need to swing back. I think everyone would admit that we're moving so fast.
Yeah.
Nobody can keep up.
I just thought it was my cell phone in traffic, but that's a much better way. My branches are being cut down. I'm like, that too. But my cell phone won't stop all weekend. It's like going crazy,
It's hard not to wax philosophical when you're dealing with this
No,
plant.
you're in it.
Because you're just in it. And it speaks to us, and it's speaking to all of our clients in very unique and meaningful ways.
Well, I just know a lot about CBD because of how it helps with, it can help with cancer and arthritis. And just so many just chronic pain in general, right? Yeah. The balms and you can also inhale it, the vapes and stuff. So, and then cramps, I know can help with cramps.
Yeah.
You guys have
we do. We have a product called Relief, which has again been this incredible revolutionary product for so many people who have pelvic pain, menstrual cramps, endometriosis, so many different experiences that are very common. And there hasn't been a lot of progression in terms of pharmaceutical or scientific research on how or any natural alternatives for those pains. So we've had a lot of really incredible firsthand feedback from particularly endometriosis community, which are people who are experiencing this on a very regular, very intense basis, and often on the heaviest dose of pharmaceutical painkillers. People have written to me and said, I've completely gotten off of my painkillers just by using your product, and it's absolutely changed my life. Not Awaken, the Relief, the suppository.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's back up. We should talk about Relief, because Relief, also known as the weed tampon, it's not a tampon,
right.
And we can talk more about why that is. But it's an important thing to talk about in and of itself, because I think as a species we've radically failed women to address this monthly phenomenon, which is throughout the world still a source of tremendous amount of shame, and even here in our culture is just not accepted. And women have to suffer through this silently. And the only thing on the market right now, to our knowledge, is like a rebranded hiccup drug from
Midol.
the 1920s.
Yeah, Midol, right, exactly. Like take another pill or...
Take another pill, which it's all in the bottle. It's might have long-term negative consequences. Well, menstrual cramps happen for a long period of a woman's life.
Exactly.
So it's been interesting for us to see how this plant that was originally we were utilizing for the sake of pleasure enhancement in the bedroom, the reason we developed Relief was that we kept hearing from users that it was also dampening pain and allowing pleasure signaling to go through. So normally if you have a pain condition in the pelvic region, you're going to go to a pain specialist and they're going to prescribe you an opiate. And that might be okay for you. If you have severe pain, opiates can be phenomenal allies to help humans have less pain. Right. But if you're trying to experience pleasure and you turn off the receptor, you have no pleasure.
I feel like this whole women spend, I always say, a quarter of my life I will spend either PMSing or have my period, and then during that time a lot goes on. I might get really angry, and then so the next 3, or kind of blow things off. I used to feel like this way. I remember in college, I'm like, if 1 week of the month I'm spending in this crazy, and then I got to spend the next 2 weeks cleaning it up. But no one talks about that. So if there's a way to just help women with this pain and stuff, I just think now it is becoming a thing that we're actually looking at different ways to help women with this monthly thing. Now, what about men? I feel like we talk a lot about men.
With their cramps?
But men don't have cramps. But what about any of your products or sexual?
Yeah, it's interesting.
We all have anxiety, so sexual anxiety.
Well, I think that would be a good use for a CBD product for men that have sexual anxiety, a higher dose of CBD to deal with anxiety. In terms of physiological response, trust me, we've been trying. Our people have been asking us for 5 years, why do you're all this stuff for women? It just turns out that this plant specifically, which remember, this is harvested from the female of this plant. It creates the flower. It has all these compounds, concentrated in its flowers, and it's a female. It's not the male,
right?
And it happens to have all these benefits to the females of our species. So, what about the men? We're still working on it, and we do have some things that might not be fully normalized across the board for everyone, but we found that introducing cannabis, similar to introducing it vaginally through a suppository, which is what Relief is, we do that with a rectal suppository.
Okay. Well, I wanted you guys, there was an article that came out a few weeks ago. It was a study, and I saved it because I knew you guys were going to come on. I was so excited about, does marijuana increase sexual drive? So it was kind of printed everywhere. It was a new study, and I wanted to kind of go through it with you and see what you thought about it.
Yeah.
So they found that men and women who use marijuana daily had about 20% more sex during the previous 4 weeks than their peers who abstained from the drug. And it asked, this was a version of on CNN written by Ian Curter, who's a colleague and a well-known, sexologist, sex doctor as well. What's the connection between sex and marijuana? So it talks about how marijuana affects the libido. People who use, so here's just some thoughts around it, that people who use marijuana may have more sex because they put less pressure on themselves when they're high, so they don't have the same performance anxiety as those who are sober. That was one sex therapist. Another one said a small amount may help increase your ability to communicate your preferences to your partner. You just kind of like that anxiety. I mean, I think so much of what we're talking about is your anxiety goes down. You can have a little more relaxation. You can actually say what you want and what you need. They're talking specifically about THC, and this part of it targets a part of our brain associated with sexual arousal, at least in females. So what would you have to say? What do you say about this? Are you like, finally, or did you already see this? Or
Well, I would ask you you're defining sexual drive and sexual desire, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's important to we gloss over the terms.
We do, and they're often misused. Like it's arousal, desire.
And even with
Right.
cannabis, like there's a vast difference between a microdose and a dab.
Yeah.
Right. So you could onboard 1,000 milligrams of THC into your body and be okay if you have a super high tolerance, because the body does
The
build up
THC is the more
tolerance.
Yes.
Right.
psychotropic. Is that what you say? Psychoactive.
Or you could take, like me, 2.5 milligrams. And just enough turning, like a glass of wine, that you feel.
It is like a glass of wine.
It's like a glass
and
of
it's
wine.
better. I have to say this though, because I feel like alcoholism is really a problem in our everywhere. But I feel like some people are like, oh, I need that glass of wine at night. I just feel like for some people,
I think cannabis is the new Chardonnay.
Yeah,
I think it's
really?
I think it's being written about us in such a way.
I could see that.
I think it's interesting, and I'm guessing that this article was about people who are ingesting it through smoking
Well,
it
it's
and
kind of
inhaling
like-
it.
yeah.
I don't think it was specifically like topical or other ways, but
It really wasn't.
It
right.
is. It's
But
saying that they're having more regular sex, and
Right.
the thing that says to me is it's, because I have smoked before. In my experience and other people that I know, is that you immediately get brought into the present moment, and you really are out of your head most of the time and really in your body and really able to feel things really in your senses. And there's nothing that works more with arousal than being in your senses and in your body and being able to like feel.
Maybe I would caveat that if you're comfortable in that place, but someone who's
Sure.
just in their head, working, stressing, kids, all of a sudden they're super present, they're not going to automatically be like, oh, I feel sexy.
They're not sexy,
They're gonna be
but
like,
Wow, I
I'm
can
way
get my
too
hands.
present. I don't know
Maybe-
what to do.
That's
Maybe
true. 'Cause
I
then you got to look
feel-
at your own emotions and what you've been blocking,
Of
and you've
course.
been numb your whole life.
So the people who are long-term users, I
Then you
think
call them therapists.
they've gotten comfortable with coming into presence, coming into their body, so
Right.
then they could engage intimately. Because I've certainly noticed some periods in my life if I alter my consciousness and it's too much too fast. I couldn't even
Yeah.
imagine
Yeah.
trying to interact
Totally.
with another person and their needs and their being. It's like,
Right.
whoa, it's too much.
Yeah.
So a lot of this is like, it's all new to us, but maybe
is
we're
new
so,
in
we
the sense-
want to throw the throttle. It says, yes, cannabis is good for sex, or no, it's not. And we're like, we don't know.
It's just like everything. We don't know. And it's all about doses and different kinds. That's the thing. Like, I'm not saying everyone should just jump into this, but it might be something else to look at.
Well, everyone's so unique too. And for me, arousal and desire and even wanting to have sex so much relates to our nervous system and our stress levels. So anything that's working with stress levels in the body, I would say is going to help orient us towards pleasure in our lives.
Exactly. The more you breathe into your body, and the more we just kind of deal with our stress and anxiety through breath, through yoga, through whatever it is.
Exactly.
Even if it's 5-10 minutes, I feel like
Exactly.
it's huge. Will you guys stay and help me answer some emails from the
course.
people?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Thank you, everyone, for supporting them. I love you. We'll be right back.
Emily, wouldn't you say stress is probably one of the number one inhibitors of
Stress is the biggest
desire
killer of
and libido?
of desire. And sex drive.
Absolutely.
People are like, don't want to have sex because they're so stressed. They get up from
Absolutely.
work and we're going, we're on the computer, we're connected, we're in traffic. We get home. How do we want to have sex? That like, it's the last thing on our mind.
Yeah.
And to
Exhaustion,
say, and I
yeah.
know what even I get. I'm like, oh God,
yeah.
I know what it takes. I gotta turn off my phone. I gotta sit and meditate and breathe. But sometimes you're like, no, like you rail against it. But yes, I would say that it is definitely anxiety and stress.
Yes.
And that's all head based.
Yes.
But if you can somehow drop it into your body. So what I like about this about talking just cannabis more openly. I'm so glad that it is more open and people can see that there are some solutions, perhaps for them, if it works, that they could kind of relax into their body and maybe not have wine and beer or as well as, I don't know, in conjunction.
We had great feedback a little while ago from a customer of ours who talked about how she actually has been using Awaken quite a bit, and she was experiencing like regularly very painful intercourse, and she was like, I don't have to drink that glass of wine now every time because I do get really relaxed. I can not have this fear of like pain during penetration, but I can trust my body and I can really orient towards like the pleasure part of it. So I found that really powerful because
with the Foria Awaken, I just love this because I've never been able to tell women. I could say see a pelvic floor specialist. You know, this is amazing that you're hearing from that from so many women. Like
definitely a tool to keep in your toolkit.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
And as a guy who uses Awaken frequently, even though I don't get a direct physiological benefit to like more pleasure directly, the smell. So
how do you use it?
I mean, I'll use it for self-pleasure. I'll
like
use it for oral with my wife. I'll use it for intercourse. Like we'll use it it's always nearby.
It's always there.
It's in every room in the house, just in case. It's our go-to.
It is your go-to.
But what happens now is like I sprayed some on before the show, and like I turned around like I thought my wife was in the room because now I so associate the smell. And so like if you think about the word sensual, like scent, so we're really fascinated with like how does scent and pheromones and smell play into the mechanisms of arousal and how we store erotic memories. So what's been really fascinating for me is like using this product, having deeply pleasurable experiences of intimacy, and then it stores that memory in that smell. So I can smell this on the way home from work and it unpacks that memory and it starts getting my body turned on, and it gets me out of my head. It gets me out of the stress response from being at work and being in traffic, and it gets me back into the juiciness of the body.
I love that.
So like for arousal's sake for guys, like using the essential oil piece, like, we poo-poo essential oils.
Essential oils, what? Yeah.
No, it's smell. It's like our deepest memories.
It is our deepest memories.
We get there through smell.
Well, it's
and the
funny.
smell of our lovers.
Yeah. And I was going to say that it's, I think, scientifically proven that the closest sense that we have that's tied into memory is sense. It's like the most accessible way for us to access things that maybe are a little bit subconscious.
It's so true. One thing to combat stress or to get yourself in the mood for sex is to think about all the senses. So I say like go into your bedroom, like light a candle, play music. You know, this would be great for taste because it tastes so good. But like the touch, what are you feeling, hearing, smelling, tasting? Because when we're in our head so much, and then you immediately drop into the experience. So I love that this can kind of do all of it. So it's interesting about people locking in certain scents because I noticed that too in my life. I'll drive past something or smell something like, that reminds me of whatever, the gas smell. I was in Indonesia. I was driving somewhere. I was like 20 years ago. I smelled like petrol or something.
Yeah, sure. It's true. We all have memories from petrol.
We do.
It's such a strong smell.
But you're like, remember where you're at. But I think that's a really interesting.
Or wet asphalt, when you're a kid and it rains and you're outside.
I know. No, it's true. We don't pay much attention to it. So I love that you lock this in with your wife. That's sweet.
The thing I like about it too is it'll bring up parts of memory that aren't like your visual or known memory. It's really like the subconscious feel and like the feel at memory. And it'll bring up emotion as opposed to just like the visual kind of like remembrance of something, which is powerful.
Right. It gets us out of our head, really, to think. I love that it brings up a different part of it. Now, what about this is an aphrodisiac? Like how they say, like cannabis has been used as an aphrodisiac in so many cultures and stuff. What do you guys think about aphrodisiacs?
It's an ongoing
It's a funny word.
debate.
It's like pheromones,
aphrodisiacs. It's a fun conversation because, there's an encyclopedia of aphrodisiacs, which is a really phenomenal book, and it looks at a couple hundred plants that humans have figured out over the few millennia that we've been figuring these things out, how these plants work with the human body in the bedroom. So we've been at this for a while. I mean, we've been trying to use plants to get off for a really long time.
Like
much longer than Viagra's been around for. We've been sniffing plants and digging roots out of the ground and being like, I wonder what this is going to do for me. This kind of looks like a phallus. I wonder what this is going to make me hard. I mean, that's where it began. So we're still in there, in that same place, like wondering, what is the turn on? And how is this going to function for me? And we'll do it for everyone. We always want everything to do it for everyone every time.
Exactly.
But unfortunately with sex, it's not going to work every time. You can't reproduce great sex by just reproducing the activity.
Exactly what happened last time, step by step. That's true. Well, you guys are making a good dent in it. I love what Foria is doing and how much you're helping people. You guys are wonderful to know and to work with and to know you, Matt, and just to see this grow. And everyone's like, talks about Foria now. I'm like, I know Matt. I remember when it started. You're kicking ass.
This is exciting. I mean, we think there's so much more to come that's going to be revealed from this relationship that's happening right now between people using this plant all these unique and really intimate ways, and then sharing it with each other on social and like communicating. This is all ground up.
Yeah, people want to know more. But yeah, it's a great time. So you guys can all check it out. Your website's great. They can get it on your website?
They can. We're able to sell Awaken and future CBD products that are coming from industrial hemp globally. So we can ship worldwide. Our THC products, you have to visit California, Colorado, or Canada.
Visit. We have a good time here. But I think just starting with this is great. So emails, we have Mathew and Kiana here from Foria. They're going to help me. Okay, so I love answering your questions on the show. It's why I exist on the planet. So if you have a question you want me to answer, you can text Ask Emily, all one word, to 797979. You get a quick form, you fill that out. And as always, include your name, your age, where you live, and how you listen to the show. Okay, this is actually about endometriosis. So I thought this would be very helpful. You guys can answer this, help me answer this. This is from Madeline, 20 in London, and it's about endometriosis. So I thought, how perfect. You guys are here to help. Hi, Emily. I'm a bisexual woman and I've been experiencing pain during penile intercourse. I was diagnosed with endometriosis earlier this year and have had an operation to try to help, but it's been 5 months and I still can't have penile intercourse without excruciating pain. This makes it really difficult to casually hook up with guys as I feel like there's a lot of disappointment, and not to mention it's a real mood killer. This is leading me to think I should start exclusively sleeping with women. These experiences have been less painful and more pleasurable. Please let me know what you think. The doctors don't seem to regard this as a serious problem. With these doctors. Oh my God, so much. I mean, I was thinking definitely she could see a physical therapist, a pelvic floor therapist. We recently had Heather Jeffcoat on the show. Do you know who she is? She's a pelvic floor specialist, and she talked to us a lot about helping women with pain, how we have this, not only are we disconnected from our vaginas, but our whole pelvic, the entire region is just so confusing to us. And doctors are not really trained in this area that much. So I think that I'm not sure which doctors aren't regarding it as a serious problem, but I would tell everyone listening that if you go to a doctor and they're saying you don't really have a problem, luckily there's a lot of other kinds of doctors you can go to, especially when it comes to pelvic floor pain, endometriosis, all this pain that women are suffering from. So I'm so glad she wrote. And now that we were just talking about this, Kiana, what do you think?
A couple thoughts.
Yeah.
So my first is, what's happening when you're with women versus when you're with men that's making it not painful? Because if there's insertion there, I mean, there
sounds
can
like it's insertion. She says it's with penile insertion,
but you can't have insertion with women. So is there something that's happening differently emotionally, or if there's more warm up, or there's more something happening in the nervous system in her response to men versus being with women, a feeling of safety? So those are all things I would consider. I also think endometriosis is really linked into hormonal health, and there's been some great benefits from modifying your diet. There's an endometriosis diet that you can look up.
Great.
There's other things that you can do that can help detoxify the system to really balance out, to make some of the effects of endometriosis less painful. The other thing I would say is experiment with topicals that can be pain relieving, like Awaken, like we were talking about.
Sounds like, I mean, because you already mentioned it.
Exactly.
You've heard from
quite a few women with endometriosis.
So she's in London.
Yeah.
Can she get this?
She can get it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I think try this. Try see a pelvic floor specialist if you can in London, because they can also give you, right? Do you think that would be helpful for her? Like, different exercises, different ways to move it, to understand it.
Pelvic pain, it's a complex thing.
It
can be neural, it can be psychological, it can be emotional, it can be obviously physical with the imbalance of the endometriomas growing outside of the uterus. So
good advice. Okay. Thank you, Madeline, for emailing us. Let us know how it goes. Okay, this is from Emily, 28 in New York. My current boyfriend of 2 years was the first male to give me an orgasm through oral sex. Lucky for me, it's his favorite. I was always able to orgasm by myself. He's been wanting me to orgasm with him inside me. I've told him that only like 30% of women can reach climax through penetration alone, but here's the problem. When he uses clitoral stimulation when he's inside me, I'm distracted. It's as if I can either focus on his penis inside me or on clitoral stimulation, not both. Why can't I feel both at the same time? And yes, I can orgasm when I use a toy that's both internal and external. I've been tried slowing down and breathing, but it's almost like my brain can only process one sensation at a time. Is this typical? How can I combat this, if at all? Thanks so much. Love your show and all that you do for the world. Sounds like Emily, and I can relate to this too. I kind of used to feel this way about 69, that position, because I'm like, either I'm giving or receiving. I can't do both. You're going down on me, I'm taking it, or I'm going to give you a killer blowjob, but there's the both. I don't know what to do here. So I totally understand this. So I think, like, for Emily, like, she's probably still in her head a lot, because obviously she's orgasmic and she can experience a lot of pleasure. And so I was thinking maybe she could try having a clitoral orgasm first when he's inside of her, but doesn't have to focus on his penis necessarily. She could also be stimulating her own clitoris and not have him do it, so she can control when it's happening. And I'm wondering, what different types of toys she's using with both stimulations, because a lot of times what I tell women, if they can have something on their own using a toy or their hands, transfer that to a partner. So how can you be sitting or moving and use his penis in that same way so you can have those same kind of sensations and orgasm? And I also just like people to take the pressure off of how this is going to be. Like, she's so in her head with it that maybe just kind of take intercourse off the table, or just focus on one at a time.
One at a time.
Yeah. What would you think? What do you think?
You wanted to say something?
Yeah, you jumped towards the mic.
I'm definitely going to defer to you
but
two
you
on
got
this.
all
But
excited.
I did want to encourage Emily to think about your orgasm being yours, and your boyfriend didn't give it to you.
I was going to say that too. Thank you. When I read that, I didn't, because sometimes I cut myself off, and I was like, I don't want to do that. But yes, when I hear women say he gave it to me,
it's like I'm carrying around a bunch of orgasms in a bag, and I'm going to hand them out to women. It's not the way.
It's not that way. Like you, right? Exactly. Like we are responsible for our own orgasms. Thank you for that clarification.
I would take the focus on orgasm off the table,
Yeah.
even if there is penile intercourse. And for me, I would say something working with building sensation. So working with G-spot stimulation, and then working with clitoral, and then moving back to G-spot, and then back to clitoral, and really like easing out of this typical idea of what we have. Like, once we start having sex, like that's the thing. We keep going with that. Pause in the middle of it. Increase your clitoral stimulation for a little while, and then go back towards G-spot. Because the thing is the way that engorgement works, sometimes the G crest, the urethral tissue, is the last to get totally engorged. And so depending on your level of arousal, it's something that gets sensitized more and more and more as your arousal heightens. So if you experiment with that, then it might allow you to feel different
I love
things at
hearing
different
that
times.
as a guy, because it's, guys have performance anxiety, and we're like, oh, is this working? Is that working? And the minute we think something's working, we go for it. It's like, oh, it's working. And it's interesting to hear you say that, and it's beautiful the way you put it, but allowing for oscillation, allowing for there to be like pulling back, even when something feels really good, like edging, pulling back, and then going back to it, and then pulling back, and creating some space and some breath so you can actually start to feel what's happening, not just be overwhelmed with sensation. Like oscillation, that's a nice one.
That's good. It's a good one. And it's just a way of saying, like, I really would love people to stop thinking about sex as so linear. Like you were saying earlier, it just goes from foreplay, we make out, then foreplay, then orgasm, then sex, then orgasm, then we roll over and watch Netflix. I feel like it could be so many different things. Like, it can be, you start with your G-spot and then go back, or start with anything, kissing, and just different sensations, and not be attached to what you think it should look like. And kind of tricking her, how she's gotten used to this, so this has become her problem. Emily,
that could be cool. Like, break it up, like just stop in the middle and like say, hey, I'm gonna go make some eggs. I'll be right back.
I've done
and then
like
come back, and like you caught up with the sensation. Like the sensation parade, it like run ahead, and you're like, what? And so go make some eggs and come back, and then get back down again.
Yeah, learn to keep your arousal going. Keep that pilot light lit.
Yeah.
Okay, great advice. We've got one more. Oh, I thought this was funny. Okay, because this is from Lee, 21 in California. Hello, Emily. Have you heard of herbs just such as longjack, maca root, or horny goat weed, which can all be used to boost libido? If so, would you recommend these, or do you have any advice on taking these herbs? Now, horny goat, what do you think, guys? I wouldn't take any of those.
I would talk to an herbalist, and you're up in San Francisco?
He's in California.
In California. I'm sure you can find a local herbalist and talk to them directly about these different herbs, because a lot of these herbs are known to help with arousal in men, but a lot of the stuff on late night TV, turns out that they're grinding up other pharmaceuticals and putting them into these drugs, and there's amphetamines in them. There's a whole lot of risk associated with just jumping on the bandwagon for the next super herb in the bedroom. So I would talk to an herbalist and find out the history of these herbs and how they're used and how maybe they're used alongside other herbs to increase their efficacy. And then experiment slowly. And obviously make sure you talk to a doctor if you've got a heart condition, if any other things are going on that you want to be concerned about. Because sometimes when you increase vasodilation for erection, you're also going to increase the risk of heart attack.
Right.
So these are, because they're working, right?
Right.
We're often thinking, it's a plant, so I don't have to worry about it. Well, perhaps there's less risk, but there's certainly still risk. If it's active, it's active.
Yeah, it's not an actual goat. He's a horny goat. What'd they do to this goat? And he's eating weed? I don't know. It's not legit, right? So, yeah, I guess for all these, this is what's advertised on TV. Or you get it at 7-Eleven, like those pills. Like, you guys don't buy that stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, maca is really well known, but it's an adaptogenic. So it's, again, working with the nervous system to help mitigate stress. And adaptogen means it helps your body do what it needs to do. So if you're stressed, it'll bring your stress levels down. But if you need more energy, it'll give you more energy. And sex hormones play such a big role in libido. And I would say, along with talking with an herbalist, get your hormones checked out. Because thyroid, testosterone, things that really feed into what we call libido are really sometimes biochemical.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I feel like hormones are not discussed enough either, and we don't understand enough about them because it's harder to test hormones. And so I just think that a lot of the things that we attribute to, I don't know, even like depression, anxiety, whatever we're experiencing, a lot of it is hormones.
You can go to a functional medicine doctor and they can do a hormone panel.
Exactly.
That's, I've been all over that. I just started doing that. Yeah. I'd like pee on a stick like 5 times a day or something. I'd like set my time. Have you ever done that? I'd like set my clock and like, but I feel like, well, I'll let you know, that's everyone. Good. If you want me to read my panels, I'll read it in a really like deep, sexy voice. I'd be like,
dim the lights.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, hello, I got my feedback. My estrogen levels are peaking. Okay, guys. So that's all we have time for. But I have a quick question for you guys, since we sort of are like at the kind of the forefront of how the cannabis industry now. Like, I feel like it is a little bit still like the Wild West. Where do you guys see the cannabis industry going in the next 5 to 10 years?
I'd like to talk about where it's going in the next 500 years. Okay. But we'll have to come back on another episode.
Yeah. You will come back. I love it. I've been wanting you on the show for so long. This is such a treat.
What's happening with the cannabis industry? I think just looking at our experience over the past 5 years, which in the cannabis industry is like cat years. It's like literally feels like 50.
Literally, right.
I think we're going to see a lot of people adopting cannabis that otherwise, like my mom, who said no, that's not okay.
Like my grandma too.
Yeah,
and they've already heard the stories. It's getting more normalized, and it's really going to hit when they have the direct experience for themselves. But right now, it's like people need to keep an open mind. The heart's open. They're hearing all these beneficial stories. So I think if you look at the trajectory and you look at the trend, it's a plant that's here to stay. Mm-hmm. It perhaps has more to offer our species than many other plants that we've discovered, and it's like saying, "Hey, I'm right here, and I grow really fast, and I love you."
Right.
So I think it's a silly hippie thing to say.
No,
but,
it is.
But it's really true.
I mean, it's true. People don't like.
Someone that loves you, they care about you, and they offer you ways to like be happier and be healthier and have more pleasure and less pain. Like this plant does that in every instance. So I don't know. Every 10 years from now, I don't know, a plant in every bedroom.
Right, like I said, I would say like a lube on every nightstand, and plants in every bedroom. Because I do feel like a lot with we hear so much about the pharmaceutical industries, and I think that now might be the plant's time to shine, and people can start to really kind of look at it. Because right now, I'm not expecting everyone to go out and whatever they want to do today. It might be the first time they've heard it talked about in a really intelligent way, and kind of crossing all, you guys know a lot about it, and to kind of maybe I'll look into that.
Yeah.
I think there's new options. There's more options.
It's been taboo and hidden in a lot of ways for a long time. So I think bringing it out into the open allows us to do medical studies, allows us to normalize it in our culture a bit, so that people who really were brought up in an era where cannabis was the gateway drug, and it was marijuana and weed, is this like not a good thing. That's really changing. And so
that's what I like to see too. It is changing and it's healing.
Yeah, and so we're not just basing things on anecdotal evidence from our clients. Like, so we believe that we have to pursue the scientific method and go through the ring, so to speak, for proving out efficacy as a medicine. And so we actually have the first of its kind observational study of around 500 women using our vaginal suppository for menstrual pain.
Okay.
That we'll be talking about in the next month or two. So
So
we
we
do
hear
want to
about it.
see that move along in tandem. The medical science is usually 5 to 10 years behind where the knowledge
True,
is.
if
Because
that.
it's
But
just a
then
slow
even
train.
more, right.
It's a
Yeah.
slow train. So we don't want people to wait to get the benefits because we know this is such a safe plant because we've been using it for so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So everyone can get the benefits now, and the doctors will catch up and say, everyone can say, we
Confirm
told
what
you
we
so.
already
So
know.
true, right? Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for doing all the work for all of us. Here.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank
been
you,
really
Matthew and
tough work.
Kiana. I know. Well, sex and drugs.
all the
Sex and
time.
weed. No, it's tough work. Right.
Sex and
It's
drugs.
tough, but we have good. At the end of the day, it's
Well, when you're ready for your next gig, we can start a band. Then we can say we did it. We
did
got
it.
sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
exactly. Oh my God, I love it. I'm in.
You got
Thank
a great
both for
voice,
being here.
Emily. We
Thank
could do
you.
it. We could do it.
I don't know if I can sing yet, but
We're going to
we'll
leave you
see.
guys tonight with a little song that Emily wrote.
Oh, the pressure. Thank you for being here.
Thank
I really,
you.
This has been
It's really
awesome.
fun.
You guys, everyone check out Foria.
Foria Wellness.
Everyone check out ForiaWellness.com. More information on the website and the show notes. Thank you both. And thanks everyone for listening. Was it good for you? Email me, feedback@sexwithemily.com.